Hello and thanks for joining me. If you've clicked on this video, it's probably because you have already watched the video that was recently published by the Canadian YouTuber Ryan F9, very influential YouTuber, in which he suggests that body armour in motorcycle clothing is useless, and he says he's removed the body armour from his own jackets. Now, understandably, that video has provoked quite a lot of response around the world, and some people are claiming it's a very irresponsible video, and he's going to be influencing people to remove their body armour and therefore have much less level of protection, and there's going to be more injuries from accidents, etc., etc. So I just want to make some comments on that video, because I think many of the people who are criticising that video are missing the point, or rather they're missing what I think the point is that Ryan F9 is trying to make in his video. What this video does is highlight to riders some important issues around armour and safety, the level of safety protection provided by the clothing that we wear, and it's getting riders to think about that in a way that they have perhaps not been thinking about it before. It's provoking discussion around the subject, and that, I think, was the real purpose of this video and the real benefit of the video which Ryan F9 made. And perhaps even if that video creates enough of a stir with riders, it might actually provoke manufacturers and standard setters to provide some kind of improvement in protection in clothing. So in this video, I just want to discuss some of the important points which Ryan F9's video highlights for me. Because I think it's an excellent, I'll put my cards on the table, I think it is an excellent video that he's made. It's very thought-provoking. It will hopefully trigger a lot of discussion, and it already seems to be doing, and I think that that's the point. I think he's purposefully being provocative to trigger this kind of discussion. So let me go through the points which it highlights for me. So the first point which Ryan F9's video highlights is that body armour does not, and indeed cannot, protect you from all types of injuries, and it will be less effective in some situations, particularly situations of direct impact that cause fractures. So I think he's getting across an important message there, in terms of just pointing out that riders should not think that they are adequately protected just because they are wearing a jacket or a suit with armour in. But to be honest, I think most sensible riders are already aware of this. Excuse me a moment whilst I just concentrate on overtaking these couple of cars. I'll get past these. That's better. Anyway, where was I? The second issue which the video highlights is that whenever standards are created and set, it means that then manufacturers will tend to work to that standard. And that's quite obvious, from a commercial point of view, because manufacturers need to balance out compliance so that they get their clothing passed, and they need to balance that out with cost. So there will be a reduction, if you like, down to that minimum standard that they need to comply with. And as I've just said, in many cases that will be a reduction. So it means that in many cases the level of protection in clothing is less than it used to be. And I've certainly seen that in some of my jackets. I have some older jackets which have far better levels of armour protection than modern jackets, ones that I've bought in the last couple of years. And I think it's very important that Ryan F9 highlights this. Whenever we have standards, then we're unlikely to see armour that exceeds those standards. Of course, this then begs the question, well, why don't we set higher standards? Why are higher standards not set? And there are a number of reasons for that. One of the biggest problems is that if much higher safety standards are set, then we are likely to all be riding around in much bigger and bulkier armoured suits, which will be less comfortable and less less practical. We're all going to be riding around looking like a Michelin Man, and not everybody wants to do that. But the video does highlight that perhaps we should be offered the choice of better protection, and I think that's one of the biggest messages that I got out of Ryan F9's video, is that it would be nice if we could buy jacket, trousers, and upgrade the armour to a much higher level of protection if we wanted to. So if it came with a basic level of protection, but we were able to upgrade that, because there is much better body armour available that we could be using. But as I've said, because the safety standards are just set to this sort of minimum level, then that's all we get. Now, of course, there are practical problems with increasing the level of protection, because it usually, more protection really means larger areas being protected rather than necessarily thicker pads. Modern armour technology, such as the D3O armour, doesn't have to be very thick, but we could do with larger areas of protection. And that will, of course, then need larger pockets within garments to hold it. And there's a practical problem there. Is if you've just got small armour in a large pocket, it's going to be moving around, etc. But it should be possible with some kind of innovation in how pads are located and retained within the garments. It should be possible to accommodate a much wider range of garments. So I say about having the choice for better armour, and so on the subject of choice, that brings me to my next point, which is Ryan F9's video highlights another important issue around rider choice. You will be aware from earlier videos that I've made about safety, particularly I've made a couple of videos about helmets, that I am an advocate of freedom of choice. And one problem we have is that more regulation usually leads to less freedom of choice. So, rather than regulating to increase the level of armour in garments, I would rather see us just have that option available. And I'm hoping that Ryan F9's video is going to promote a discussion which will maybe lead to manufacturers giving us more choice, which we can then choose if we want to, rather than necessarily regulation leading to higher levels of protection that we all then have to wear. Because you see, quite frankly, regulation doesn't work, and he talks about this in his video, how it's kind of it can be hijacked by manufacturers, and also, quite frankly, regulation can lead to some really weird and nonsensical situations. Just a couple of examples. So I'm aware of some of the states in the USA that I've travelled in. Eye protection is compulsory, but helmets are not. So you're breaking the law if you ride without eye protection, but you can just wear a pair of sunglasses and no helmet, and that's fine. That just seems weird to me in terms of protection. And also, some of you may be aware, in France there's regulation there about wearing CE certified gloves. Gloves. Yeah, just protecting your hands. What about the rest of your body? So just some very strange regulations. If we just let the regulators run riot, I would rather see a minimum of regulation, but a wider range of rider choice. And this brings me to my last point, which is that Ryan F9's video strongly promotes and advocates freedom of choice. And because of that, I love the video. I think he's absolutely correct, and that's one of the things which I like most about the video. But freedom of choice should always be informed choice. If you have choice, it should be informed choice. So for example, if you live in a state where helmets are not compulsory and you choose to ride without a helmet, then you should do so being fully aware of the risks that you are taking. So for example, you know, the statistics in terms of accidents, the kind of injuries that you may sustain in different accident situations. But if with that information then you choose still not to wear a helmet, then that's fine, because you are making an informed choice rather than simply a choice out of ignorance. And this is where the Ryan F9 video really impresses me the most, because by highlighting the levels of protection that Armour can give you, and I think purposefully being provocative in suggesting that he's removing the armour out of his jackets, I think he did that to be provocative on purpose, then what he's doing is he's getting riders to think about this issue of protection, and therefore you know, getting them to be more informed in their choices. He's highlighting the risks and helping promote this informed choice, and I fully support that, and because of that I think it's an excellent video. Anyway, what do you think? I would be very interested in your opinion on this subject. Please put your thoughts in the comment box below. Many thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, and hopefully see you again soon. Ride safe. Bye bye.